I feel like the strangest dream.
This has got to be like the strangest intro to a Texas Aggies United interview.
Yeah, it's not always a bad thing, though.
Sponsored by the 12-Man Foundation. Ain't nothing gonna break him, that's right.
You know why? Because
Nobody gonna slow me down.
Oh no!
I got to keep on moving.
See, this is...
That's not bad.
Our thanks to the 12-Man Foundation for making student-athlete experiences and that possible.
I think
No doubt.
the fact that Hayden knew that song, and shockingly, Allie knew it, and you know it.
I knew the
I
artist.
didn't know any of
How
y'all
about
was
that?
the artist.
Matthew Wilder.
Matthew Wilder.
We were just talking about... You look like Matthew Wilder. Look him up.
I'm looking him up right now.
So...
Wow, that's a great comp.
I don't have the perm.
Well, I can help you out with that.
You
I've
could
had
probably
one.
grow
Yeah,
one.
that
Yeah.
kind of looks like
So,
2
years ago, I
Schott with
looked
the
like
mustache.
that. Yeah. When I was at Columbia.
Current Matthew Wilder, you're looking like. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know if that's a compliment.
Oh,
So-
so look at his Wikipedia page. He also did he provided the singing voice for the character Ling in Disney's Mulan.
Interesting.
Wow.
Okay.
From
All
Oregon,
right.
Hayden.
Learn something new every day.
Little known fact. What we did learn recently, and we were talking about feel good songs, is how this started. Everybody, feel free to in the replies give us a feel good song similar to that one. Another one I would have put was "Men at Work," "Land Down Under."
Oh,
So they played that
What about
song
Man-Eater
as a
by Hall &
bumper.
Oates?
Oh, that's a great.
Yeah.
Hall & Oates is really good. I bet you know what. I bet the shot. I bet your dad was a big Hall & Oates guy.
My dad is probably the inspiration for just about every music taste I have.
Yeah.
Like good or bad. You know what I mean? Like just about everything.
So with Careless Whisper, are there other 80s type songs that you're...
I mean, honestly, anything like Wham, George Michael's, I love.
Yeah.
Like, I just love George Michael's in general.
You're putting an S on the end, by the way, was his name. Hayden Schott.
Yeah, Hayden Schott.
George Michael.
George Michael.
How about...
Oh, you're saying I'm adding an S?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's just like, I think it's like a hybrid of a lisp kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Well, then I'm sorry. My
It's okay.
God.
Yeah, I was going to say.
My bad. So George Michael, what's give me a top 2 or 3 George Michael songs.
Well, I think if I consider my George Michael category in bed with Wham, I think Last Christmas is better than any, not just Christmas song. I think it's probably one of the greater songs ever. I listen to that thing in March, and I feel like Santa Claus is in my room.
I'm not arguing with you.
Yeah, I think it's incredible. But also, like, 80s music, like, my parents listened to 80s music when I was younger, and I never truly, like, understood it and, I guess, appreciated it until I got a little older when I was, like, 16, 17.
Okay.
Where I'd be, like, listening to it in my car. Because car music is a really big part of life. Whatever you listen to in your car, I think, is a real testament to what you like in music. But I don't know. I got a wide variety of desires. Yeah, road trips. Like
road trip music is... It really is like, it describes like, kind of like who you are. Or what
100%.
What mood you're in that day or week or, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have a second
I was just
George
looking at
Michael.
different songs.
Oh,
I thought you were going to name a top whatever, but you never did. Just went Last Christmas, and that
What's
was
the
the
one
end of
about?
the list.
Teach us everything. That one.
Can you do that again? That was great. Teach
Have you ever seen him do karaoke?
Oh, yeah.
amazing.
Unfortunately, I have seen him do karaoke. Yeah.
Like, he's great.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, it actually is good.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can do.
Chase is good too, actually.
I've heard that about Jay.
He can, yeah,
I've
he's
heard
not
that
bad.
the two of you together doing the Zach Bryan, Casey Musgrave.
Yeah,
duet
yeah, it's not bad.
Is like it'll bring tears to
We're
your
not
eyes.
good
It's
singers,
beautiful.
but we're good enough to where it's not like laughable.
Yeah,
Like it's not,
That's kind of
you know what I
wild,
mean?
yeah.
Like it's like, okay, this is okay. It's not terrible.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
And the bar is set so low for any any guy
Yes.
that people don't think that the bar is so low that all you have to do is be just competent.
Yeah.
Like if you were a baseball player, it would be,
Yes.
I think, akin to hitting, like if you trotted me and you out there and we made contact
Yes.
in baseball, wow.
It's like, like it's okay. Like that's pretty good. Like that, absolutely.
Just making contact. I don't even know if I can do that. So a couple of years ago, they let us go out for softball, and like
Ooh.
Emily Kennedy was thrown to us.
That might be harder.
I fouled one off.
Oh,
That was
nice.
it.
That's a
It
win.
was super hard.
Those are little wins.
And then she threw a changeup, and I like blooped it to the second base.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
super humble.
I think that's harder than
Super humble,
baseball.
which puts into perspective how impressive it is to hit 330 in the SEC.
yeah. That's a good segue there.
Only one of us has done that.
You deserve some claps for that segment. That was
Thank
pretty
I
good.
was going to segue into the
Can I go ahead and
how
introduce us?
impressive it would be.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Billy
Yeah, it's kind of
Lucci,
rough.
Hayden Schott, Texas A&M, DH, Richard Zane. He's the guest of honor, and he is Billy.
Oh,
Whoa! I don't want to step on your
See,
toes. Go ahead.
That was the whole reason I was here, to say even more impressive than hitting 330 in the SEC might be to be coming back and earning a pretty big honor. I'd say this week. When was it? I mean,
They announced it.
when did you know that you were going to be wearing number 12
It's
this
a
year?
loaded question.
When did that happen realistically?
Oh, man, what a question there,
Yeah.
Mr. Lucci.
Thank you.
I'd say a few months back. I got a call from Coach Early, and he told me, and I think I knew for a while, but I didn't really. I guess it's hard to understand the weight of something like that when you're in it, and so I just kind of was like, oh, like we'll release something whenever. Like I didn't really think much of it, and then a couple days whenever it got released to the public, it was like one of the cooler responses I've seen from like anything in my life. It was so cool.
Like
So-
through the fan base.
yeah, fan base, like old friends who don't know a lot about A&M who like were like, hey man, I just like read about the 12th man. Like that's so cool. Like that, like it was like bringing people into the A&M world that like aren't really a part of it, which was really cool too. So
The self-deprecating stuff that we all, you and I both love to do sitting here when we joke around, but coming, like your path to get here
yeah.
to, in 1 year, really 1 year's time, earning such an honor, like, what does that really mean to you? Just to kind of think of your path and like, man, this is like,
It's hard to talk about. I'm really bad at the self
yeah,
like
when we have
pride stuff. You know what I mean?
serious-
It's a tough thing for me because when I think of like the number 12 and what it means to this university and the 12th man and the history behind it, I think of a lot of guys on our team that could have worn it and would have represented it amazing too. Like there's just so many guys on that roster that exemplify that and all the values of A&M. And so the fact that it's me, it makes it way harder to talk about. If it was like Stewart, I'd be sitting here, I could talk for an hour about how like much they exemplify it. But I think it's pretty cool to be wearing a number that means so much to not just our team, not just A&M right now, to the history of A&M and all that. It's a big weight, but a really, really big honor. So I'm definitely very thankful.
You mentioned the response from the fan bases. Are there any individual people that have reached out to you that really sticks out to you? Like, dang, that's really cool that so and so reached out to me on getting this honor to congratulate me.
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, there was just other athletes. I think was really cool too. Like hearing from some of the football, basketball guys. I think just, but once again, the most important and the coolest thing to me is always like the random fans who are on Twitter or Instagram, whatever it is. Like seeing how like they'll put out a whole paragraph in response to me getting a number is so cool. Like it's some guy who's just maybe graduated A&M in 05 and he's writing a whole paragraph on like, hey man, like so proud and like you deserve it. Like that is so cool to me because I don't even know him personally or her, and they're writing this paragraph on why I'm deserving of this number. Like that is so crazy and cool to me that they could think that and maybe feel my type of values through a screen probably on watching me play baseball. So pretty cool.
What about Jace Love? What was his reaction? Was he okay with you stealing a little bit of the spotlight for a few hours?
Right. I think there was a few clicks that he missed out on that he was not super stoked on. I mean, you look at the text I got from all my teammates, -1, he was the one. I mean, I think you look at a guy who's really focused on clicks and interactions because that's how he gets a lot of his pay. So I think he took a hard hit to the gut, but fortunately he's growing some thicker skin as I get to know him, probably due to me, of course. And I think he's doing okay with it. I think he'll be okay in a few weeks. So
he should recover, maybe.
yeah, we'll maybe see him at lunch. I don't know.
I'm thinking about this. Okay, so such a long off season. It just feels, the fact that the off season's it is over for y'all. Like
Right.
25 days away from opening.
It's crazy.
and the last, like, we'll never forget the last time we saw you guys and that game and just how epic that game, that series, that run was. And then for you to have the knee surgery after and be on the shelf. I know the whole team's got to be just fired up to be for the stuff to get real now. the season to begin with practices, but you individually, how ready are you to get back out there and just get back into the normalcy of Texas A&M baseball in the season and such a
I think that's the right word for it. Is just like the whole idea of normal and having a consistent, whether it's just a workout schedule, whatever it may be. Being in season is such a daze because it may look long or short to some people, but it feels like when you're in it, there's no time. You're just showing up every day doing the same thing over and over again, which I love. I love some sort of consistency in that. So I think as a whole, everyone's just, there's been a lot of hype around this team. Last year we thought there was a lot of hype. And then this year you make it times 2, maybe times 3. And I think it's really cool. And we love having that number one stigma that like, maybe since you're number one, you shouldn't go all the way. Like that is it's fuel to us and we love that and it kind of adds to the fire. But I think everyone now just wants to get out and play and show that we're really, really damn good. And there's a reason that we've been given all these accolades. So
sentiment that was also shared by Gavin and Prager.
Yeah, he took that from me.
Hensler.
I think actually they took that from me.
Well, I think you took that from them because you're the 4th one.
That's
in
true.
Well, I know why you'd think that, but they actually usually come to me
Well,
before
that's
interviews.
just because they're taking it from their leader. That's just good leadership.
If 100%. Yeah.
Respect.
Minus,
even have
it's
to
not
say
good
it.
leadership is saying it's mine. That's why. Yeah.
I think.
I've got a question.
Go ahead.
Talk about getting back to the normalcy and consistency of practicing. 1 weekend, as we sit here on Monday, practice official full team workouts and stuff like that. How's that going? What's that like seeing Mike now directing the team as the season's here? And then second for you, man, the knee. How's the knee feeling now that you're back into workout and everything like that?
Let's go Mike first. Seeing him in the head coach role, I said this like last week to someone, but it's like the craziest transition that you would think would be so vast because he was a volunteer 2 years ago. I think technically he was a volunteer coach 2 years ago.
Yeah, they had to get him paid to keep him.
Yeah, right. And that if you knew that like this year, not knowing him before, you would never guess it just because of the way he is able to command a team that makes it seamlessly like he was a head coach for the past 10 years is so intriguing to me. I mean, I think young coaches are becoming more and more of a trend now in a lot of sports. And so seeing him in that head coaching role has been very seamless. As far as my knee, I feel great now. Now I'm healthy. I mean, I played a lot of video games for a few months. I've actually just got a Meta Quest 3. Shout out Meta. It's a VR set, and I've been using that in my rehab a lot.
I heard. Tell us what happened to you yesterday.
Well,
trying to do it.
me and Wyatt Hensler bought one impulsively. We're trying to play some golf on the road, so that's our plan.
Okay.
And we did a little simulation of, I'm not going to say what, because I feel like I'm going to get canceled if I say that.
Why would you get canceled?
About saying I was on the Titanic falling down. I feel like that makes fun of some of the victims.
No,
I was
it
on a
doesn't.
Titanic. Okay, all right.
Yeah, no.
All right, I'm good then. I was on a Titanic simulation, just falling down on the boat, and I got a little motion sickness. I got seasick. on the Titanic.
From the VR
Like
set.
legitimately.
I know,
like, blowing up.
actually, like I was sick.
Actually threw up and everything.
Yeah,
Wow.
I didn't even think about the hypothermia. But
So does that mean that like you got motion sickness because you were doing this VR thing at the Titanic? How was Wyatt? Did he come out okay?
Well, yeah, Wyatt was fine.
So does that officially mean that Penn guys are smarter than Columbia guys?
Well, it means they're
Smarter or just
I think
less
they're
I
just.
don't know.
I think it's kind of just like his feel around his whole body is just a little worse. I think they're more like robotic. If you look at him and Appel, you see similar robotic tendencies of kind of like a lack of emotion, an ability to do really simple things well. You know what I mean? Like I think, like if you're human, you're going to be a little more creative. And with Wyatt and Appel, you just don't see that. It's a shame.
I think it's also like you're more in tune with your environment,
No
what's
doubt.
going on around you.
100%.
So,
That's what I'd like you to tell him that actually, if you don't mind.
I'd love to.
Okay.
And speaking of Wyatt, just from talking to you guys, and not just him, but his when you hear about what he's bringing to the team, and there's so many new additions. And
Yeah.
like Gavin and just everybody. Like, talk to me about just giving a couple of guys that have just caught your eye. And I know we're going to do this. He's not going to name every single newcomer.
I was just going to say,
I know how that goes.
I know.
But it's okay because you bust balls so they can get you too.
You're right.
So
right.
you
That's
just
fair.
a couple of guys that like,
Yeah.
and also maybe throw in one that like maybe a lot of the fans aren't as aware of yet because they didn't come in with as much height.
Right.
For their young.
Well, I think I think the two highest ranked ones are Gavin and Wyatt, which if you talk to them, they could care less about the rankings.
Yeah.
But I think with those guys, and I think you just see a really kind of like Coach Early, like it's just a seamless transition into a locker room that is kind of a hard locker room to be a part of when you're ranked number one, and there's a lot of preconceived ideas about it, and they seamlessly transition. They're seamlessly already kind of leading in a way that you would not expect from a transfer. So that's an intangible that you don't get from a lot of transfers. So I think that's huge, and I'm sure Coach Early is excited for that and knew that while recruiting kids like that. You know what I mean? You have older guys like them and Bergevin and these guys that have been around locker rooms and understand the game of baseball and leading a team. And then you've got other guys who maybe aren't as maybe vocal, like a guy like Yamal George, who like he is
I like him.
firecracker.
Yeah, he's
like a true he's like a queen on a chessboard. He can move any which way on the field. He can play any position, and he's just got like this vibrant energy around him that brings everyone up around them. And it's on days where it's kind of like today, where it's cold and you're like walking out to practice and you're like, crap, like it's just not that type of day. You got a guy like that those are intangibles too that you kind of need on days where maybe everyone isn't super excited to practice. And you've got a guy who's just loud, always smiling. And I think a guy like him is super beneficial. So I'm excited I think the fans will get a really good idea of his personality in the next coming months. So I'm excited for that.
A returner that the fans might think is on the quieter side. I've heard that your relationship with Hayden Sorrell is pretty high. Tell us a little bit more about Hayden, things that we might not know.
Oh, Hayden? Yeah, I can tell you about Hayden. Hayden and me have been like really close since last year when I was starting over him in left field, and both of us knew that was not going to last with a kid like that. But like I think he was really quiet, and my main goal was just to kind of get those kids out of their shell a little bit because all of them have such awesome personalities. And then now this year you see Sorrell, who the fans got to see how good he was as a baseball player, but I think this year you'll get a really good idea of how like sheerly funny this guy is. I mean, he's so fun to be around, and you talk to him and you don't really understand it because he's a little quiet at first, but me and him have become super, super close. And I think when you got young guys like him, Grahovac, who are really good, but really good people and really humble, it's just like, you don't get that a lot with sophomores that were really good in high school and maybe have that attitude that they're better than everyone.
Yeah.
Like you don't get that with young sophomores who are that good. So he's amazing. They're all super, super fun. Love
Who's
him.
in that locker room with you guys? Who's the most serious?
Oh my gosh, that's a good question. Prager's up there. Prager's serious. When you're like a starting pitcher like that, I feel like you kind of like it's just like your aura is just a little more fine-tuned, just like serious. And
think of like a Greg Maddux.
for sure. Yeah. For sure. That's a great comp. I'm sure he'd like that too. Good call, Luch.
There you go.
But yeah, guys like him.
You should go watch. There's a really good MLB documentary on Greg Maddux that they just put out.
Ooh.
Not as serious as you might think.
I've heard. Maybe fine. Tom Glavine then.
Okay. Sure.
Maybe.
Wow.
There's a great story about Maddux. Was it in that documentary about where he was kind of struggling when he came up, and the manager at the time, that was the Cubs at first, right?
Yeah.
Said, if you don't win this start, I'm going to send you back down to the minors. You're not pitching like you're better than this. So he goes out there to start, and he's 3 outs away from the win, qualifying for the win anyway. And somebody on the other team beans one of their great players. I don't know if it was Sandberg or Andre Dawson, whoever they had at the time, beans him.
It was the Hawk.
It was the Hawk, Andre Dawson, who I would not throw a hard pitch at. You don't know Andre Dawson, probably.
Nope.
You would not.
I'll pretend I do.
You would not want to bean him. Okay. And so Andre Dawson, they beat him, and the manager says, "You got 3 outs to go, getting this win. We made that deal. And he said, "Okay, whatever." And he goes out there on the very first
nails.
pitch.
Yeah.
Send my ass back to the minors. I don't care.
Yeah.
That's my team.
Yeah.
I feel like you guys
That's old
have
school baseball,
a
man.
team. I'm not saying we're going to be, that Prager's going to be out there beating.
Yeah.
But it was a
Ryan
different
Wolf.
time in the 80s.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
as a team, though, I just feel like this is as, you mentioned the guys in the seamless transition stuff. I see you guys in the freshmen that are around you. Like, it's just, it's like you see them out at games or in public. It's like, they've been a part of the team for 3 years.
Yeah.
It really is,
Yeah.
and it's.
That's the goal.
But it's also nothing. You mentioned like you're conscientious about like the Caden Sorrell thing a year ago, making him feel comfortable. But you guys have created an environment that you don't really have to work on.
Yeah.
It's just kind of the way that the clubhouse is.
For sure.
How much does early play into that?
Well, I think last year you don't really understand that has a big role in that because he's not the head coach. Do you know what I mean? But I think it comes down to how you treat people, and he does such a good job at creating a locker room that we feel comfortable in, and I think that's the biggest thing. When you just want to create an environment, you don't want to force an environment where like, hey, this is how we have to do stuff. We have to do it this way and only this way. There's a little bit of free reign with a little bit of guidance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's what a coach does. It's just like kind of giving you the answers, and you got to go out and do it.
I think it's funny because a year ago, that wasn't, and even going back like 3 years ago with the Doritos and stuff, like you guys were
Pringles.
not, to me, what?
Pringles.
Pringles, Doritos.
Some sort of chip.
It's a
That's like a
chip,
first
that's
cousin
right.
of Pringles.
It's a flavored chip.
Yep.
But that was out of Slosh's comfort zone. And I feel like that speaks to the type of team you guys are. Because like you said, you don't force it. If you're forcing that, then it's coaches, the whole staff's going to go, no, calm down, guys. It's not forced, and you guys just did it. And I think it's interesting that, Coach Early's he had 3 years of just kind of watching it evolve.
Yeah.
And so no one knows better, like, what you guys are when it's time to say, all right, than him. Like, I mean, sitting there for 3 years kind of watching this evolution to what it is today, not just the personalities, but also the talent level, the roster. I can't imagine having hired a better coach for this current situation.
100%.
And then the future is built off the current.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I agree. I think like it's easy when you have people from the outside think it's easy when you have a team this talented to make that type of environment. But I think it's the opposite. I think it's a lot harder when you have a lot of really talented people to create an environment where everyone's comfortable and everyone respects each other and there's no real hierarchy. That's really hard to do. And I think he's done a really, really good job at doing that.
What has it been like working with Caleb Longley and the rest of this coaching staff that Mike Early's assembled?
Oh, Caleb's been for how short I've known him, feels like I've known him forever. He is so, number one, he's really knowledgeable. Like it's really similar to Mike in the hitting sense, but it's always good to have a different voice and a different mindset, especially when it's a thing like hitting. Like you want to have two different voices and as many voices as possible. And so they've done a really incredible job at not kind of butting heads with what they say, but just kind of letting each other work with each other. And so having Caleb there has been huge. And I think he's helped me a lot with I think this year I'll have a completely different swing in like the best possible way. And he's helped guys like Kent a lot. Like there's just a few guys that he's been so huge for that maybe Mike, now that he's the head coach, isn't dealing with as much now that Caleb is kind of filling that role.
How important was it to get Caden Kent back?
Yeah, I mean, that's when it was all going down, like I guess like he was a name that when you think of like Jace and Gavin, like everyone was like worried about them because they were the top two technical names in the portal. But and of course, like we needed them, trust me. But Kent's an intangible guy that you can't pass up on when you look at last year's team and how, once again, seamless transition, he filled that role for Braden.
Yeah.
That's super hard to do. And I think that's a guy that you need back this year to have a full 70-game slate of what he did at the end of last year. And I think people are going to lose it when they see the numbers that this guy throws up. So it's huge.
You mentioned him a little bit earlier, but Jace, all the accolades that are coming his way, all the expectations that he's dealing with, how are you seeing him handle all of that? And what are your expectations for him once the games start counting?
Yeah. I mean, he makes sure that we know that the accolades are coming in for sure. He's on top of it. He has actually alerts on his Apple Watch every time his ranking changes. So it's actually been really fun to see him deal with that. But he is like joke side. He deals with it better than, I've said this a lot, but he deals with it so much better than anyone in that position could. Because someone in that position could be such an a-hole and just let everyone know what they're about and not give time for the little guy, whatever it may be. And he has every reason to do that, but he does the exact opposite. So, there's no reason that kid should not be the number 1, number 2, whatever draft pick. But the way he acts, you would never guess that. I guess is the best way to say it. And that's like I feel like one of the higher praises you can give to someone in that position. Like so.
And
yeah.
kudos to you for giving a serious answer about it. I know
Well, I was thinking about not doing it. Yeah, I know.
I know. Veer left, but
I know. I'll give you another one at another time. I promise.
Well, here, how about this? I'll reward you. I'll let you show some creative process here. The glove. I've seen a picture of it. Yeah. For those of the viewers that haven't gotten to see your glove for this year, what's it look like? What is it? Describe the creative process and will we get to see you use it this year?
Well, that's the plan. So I got a small infield glove. It's meant for a second baseman, but I can also rotate to short if they need me. It's more of a hybrid infield glove, tiny glove. It's teal on the inside, hot pink on the out. My goal there was to kind of peacock. I want people to not want to hit the ball to me. And the goal with Coach Early's told me plenty of times, just you want to be,
stay away.
He told me that I need to be ready in there. And so my goal was to get a glove that gives me a chance to train to be ready. That's the goal, right? So I've been working at it. Coach Fox has helped me a lot with ground balls. So I'm hoping to maybe split time with Kent, but we'll see. I don't know. I mean, that's the goal, just to be ready. So
12th man, DH, backup shortstop.
Yeah, or second base, but then the glove can rotate to shortstop as well. So
or maybe get a second base glove or get a shortstop.
Or
it's actually on the way. But yeah, we're working it out right now.
Feel free to only play 8 out in the field. I got both positions.
Yeah, Rover. Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea.
What pissed me off so bad in baseball was I loved playing first base as a kid, and then like once you got to that age where they show up with that first baseman's glove,
the big mitt. Yeah,
I was so pissed. That thing looked so stupid when you're young and that big. That's my only glove incident where I was like,
I agree. It does kind of look stupid. The catcher's glove is kind of cool. I like the catcher's glove. I think the vibe is really cool. Mm-hmm. The infield glove is by far the coolest. The tiny glove. Oh, it's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully I get to use that this year. That's the plan.
Sweet.
20 games. That's what I'm hoping. Yeah. We'll see.
There you go. 20 games on the infield.
We'll see.
We're gonna go grab lunch here, and I got a text. What does it mean when someone texts you eating with a question mark? And then 15 minutes later, when you don't reply, they unsend the message. A little sensitive on a Monday.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense to me. You eating, you didn't reply. They're done eating, so they're going to get
no
the text
longer
out.
valid.
I think that's very fair. That's more of an objective way to look at texting. But
it's like your Christmas message.
Well, my Christmas message that didn't get responded to.
You should have unsent it.
It's BS,
well,
man.
Hayden, appreciate you taking the time. This has been a fantastic. I've enjoyed this. I think they're going to love it as well. And,
great one.
Definitely going to love being back out at the ballpark. 25 days away from opening day, man.
Yeah. Rattle that bog, baby. We'll be back out.
Oh, wow.
We will be rattling the bog. Rattling the bog thanks to our friends at the 12th Man Foundation.
Thanks to our friends at the 12th Man Foundation.
This interview is sponsored by the 12th Man Foundation. The 12th Man Foundation is the official source for Texas A&M athletics tickets.